So welcome to today's seminar. It's on AP courses. So we're going to be reviewing a lot on the basics and the different strategies on how you want to approach AP exams. All right, let me go to the next slide. So this is a brief agenda for today. We're going to have a very brief welcome and introductions. And then at the very last 15 minutes, we will have a Q&A section. So please hold your questions until then. If you have any questions that you very much want to ask now, please use the Q&A box to answer those questions, and we will address them at the end of the presentation today. Okay, so this is a bit about our company, 7EDU. We very much believe in individualized education and helping students reach their best potential. A lot of our resources are located in Silicon Valley, but we have students from all around the world, like international and nationally. So these are our speakers today. First, there's Dr. Yan. She's a tenured college professor in engineering and heads a lot of our STEM activities. And then there is me, and I am more humanities based. I studied law at Duke University. And last but not least, there is Julian, who is a graduate of MIT, and he studied environmental science, engineering, and technology. So while we come from various different paths, we're all very passionate about education and have a wide variety of students and helping students, just achieve their goals within the academic arena. Okay, so for the first point of today, which I think most people know the general of this, is why are AP courses important? And I think the importance lies within two lines. The first is just enrichment / more intellectual oriented, in which case, if a student is interested in a particular subject, AP courses are some of the best opportunities in high school in which they can explore that subject at a more rigorous advanced level. Right? For instance, if a student is very passionate about mathematics, then AP Calculus is a very good opportunity within the school that they can study mathematics at a more higher level. The second one is more, I would say, results / just really results oriented, in which case in the admissions world, because we all know college applications are becoming more and more increasingly competitive, AP classes have become a must for students to stand out, right? For instance, if someone says, I'm interested in biology, and yet they do not take AP biology, that becomes a red flag within the record, right? If a student is truly passionate about a subject, why would they not take the advanced courses within that subject, especially if their school offers it? So at this point, I'll turn it over to Dr. Yan and Julian to add to this slide as well, see if they have any other points to add.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Because we are giving the seminar assuming that students or parents at least have some intention to take AP classes in the near future. So we'd like to know what AP subjects that students have in mind that you plan to take or you want to take. Yeah, so if you have the information, please type in the chat box. So our questions or our comments will be more targeted toward the subjects that you want to take. Just to echo what Aimee has said, nowadays colleges are looking for students who are ready for college, right? And not just graduate from high school. So if you hear from your high school counselor, and your high school counselor will tell you the requirements for you to graduate from high school, but they will not tell you the requirements or the criteria the colleges are looking for among their applicants. So we are looking. So SLED will actually don't just help you to graduate from high school, in which case actually bar is not high, as long as you hit the requirements. But it's a different thing to think what do you need to do to give you the better shape to apply for college, especially now college application becomes more and more competitive.
Yeah, okay, I think that's very true, that especially for students who like to excel, who are high achieving, the AP courses become, a must in these areas. Julian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think AP courses are particularly important because they allow the students to actually develop skills that they need to, succeed in college level courses when they move on to post-secondary education. So they learn how to manage time. They learn how to handle fast-paced classes. They learn how to handle content that's harder than anything they've ever experienced before. And it essentially allows them to think better. And the better that they can think, the better that they can do in that academic setting. And the more prepared they'll be just in terms of raw educational skills that will help them succeed in college.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, right? That in terms of mastery and just really having the intellectual foundations, and as Julian mentioned, the skills required for college, AP courses are very beneficial for that. So again, as Dr. Yan mentioned, if you could, I believe there is a survey going around the chat. So please complete the survey so that way we're more aware of what AP courses you're interested in. So that way we can help you prepare for them and hopefully target the seminar towards that as well. Okay, so just in case that's not enough information, and perhaps you're a more data-oriented audience attendee, these are some, I would say, numerical data from the past years that really just marks an upward trend in the amount of AP exams that are being taken within the United States. And I do think that reflects, as we mentioned before, the increasingly competitive nature of admissions. I think perhaps also AP courses as a whole have become more accessible. So you can mark a 31% increase over 10 years. Now, one thing this chart does not show is the 2022 numbers. And I think that's significant because as I'm not sure people are aware of this, we used to have SAT 2 subject tests. For instance, in subjects like biology, literature, etc. And those were discontinued in spring 2021 because the College Board believed that the AP exams were a better gauge and I think measurement of a student's interest and mastery within those subjects. So in a way, you could say that the AP exams subsumed the subject tests, right? So even though we do not have the data here, I think we can assume that the increase in the number of AP tests taken has only increased within the past year. Dr. Yan, Julian, do you want to add anything to this slide?
Yeah, just in terms of number of AP test takers, we are not trying to stress that the sheer number of AP exams you want to take, but if you can see and what other student has been doing. So in terms of, because in the past, before we had the SAT subject test, the student had an alternative way of showing their expertise in certain subjects. But now, since the SAT subjects are gone, have been completely eliminated, it seems that there's only one way. At least that's the way designed by College Board. The only one way for you to demonstrate your strong interest and your readiness to take on a particular major, and you need to demonstrate that you are ready and that you can handle the rigor and the challenges of a college level class. Yeah, that's the whole purpose. Actually, they announced that, make that formal announcement when they decide to drop SAT subject tests. Yeah, so that makes the AP test even more important.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's what we highlighted. Oh yes, Julie, did you want to add anything?
Oh yeah, I remember when I took the SAT subject tests, only I think about 6-7 years ago was when I took them. And I remember talking with one of the recruiting officers at MIT after I had been accepted. And I had submitted both my AP scores and my SAT subject scores. And they said they looked at my AP scores a little bit more closely than the SAT subject ones. So it's partly a game of the SAT subject test being replaced, but it also kind of showcases almost like the importance of taking these tests, showing to colleges that you're actually prepared for things like this, because they offer that sort of standardized way of showing that you know enough knowledge of something that they can then base their own curriculums off of and have students follow or even jump ahead in what they want to do in college.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of some sort of standardized criteria that shows mastery over a subject, right now we really only have the AP exams, right? Because GPA can fluctuate between high schools, but I think as we've mentioned, with the elimination of the subject test, this is the best way for students to demonstrate their interest and skill set and mastery of a subject. Okay, so now that we know that APs are important, of course, we know they are difficult, but what are the specific challenges of AP study? And for this section, we've broken it down based on different subject areas, because I do think while there is, of course, some overlap between different disciplines, there are also factors that are unique to each. So one, in AP English and Humanities, oftentimes you'll see some of the lowest percentile within the 5 range in some of these subjects. For instance, AP English Language and APUSH, as well as some other of the history exams, have notoriously low numbers of students receiving 5s, more receiving 4s. And I do think part of the reason, as I will go into later, is the FRQ, right? The FRQ, the DBQ, the essay writing portion, in which there may be a layer of subjectivity that makes it more difficult for students to prepare and also track their own progress in. Now, between the various humanities subjects, I will say that even between history and language, there is a difference between, some of the exams being more content oriented and some of the exams being more skill oriented. So for instance, I would say that AP English Language is an exam that's more skill oriented. So you don't have to memorize, nonfiction authors or really nonfiction writing, but you need to demonstrate that you are very proficient at several types of nonfiction rhetorical analysis. And that is true for history and government as well. But these exams will also require the students to also have, some content awareness, especially for APUSH. Okay, so then why do students find these exams so challenging? And I've had students from various interests that have struggled with this exam. Students who are more interested in humanities route and students that are more interested within a STEM route. And one thing I will highlight here, because I'm not going to read directly off the slide, is, as I mentioned, the FRQ and DBQ requires a mastery of a particular skill, right? So when something is more skill oriented, it's not dependent on memorization of information or recall of information. It's, do you know how to apply that skill? And a lot of that is dependent on practice, right? So one of the challenge, I think, is just a matter of motivation, because oftentimes I will have students who simply cannot remain self-motivated to do the FRQ practice that they would probably require in order to improve. And the second thing is just that motivation is very difficult to track when you yourself are not as aware of the progress. Like for instance, if you were to take a multiple choice exam, it's easy for you to know that you've improved because okay, I missed 20 this time, but then I only missed 10 the next time, right? But when it comes to things like an FRQ or a DBQ in which you're writing an essay, if it's only the student doing self-practice, it may be difficult for the student to know whether or not they're improving. It is difficult for them to evaluate their own work. And in cases like that, when progress is more difficult to track within an individual basis, it's also difficult to sustain motivation. Like I mentioned, there is a degree of subjectivity to how essays are graded. So I think one, the skill orientation, the need for practice, and also the inherent difficulty of maintaining that motivation are all reasons why students will find the humanities subjects challenging. I don't think it's simply a matter of they don't like writing. I think even students who enjoy writing can find parts of these exams challenging as well. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to AP Science, and I believe that is Julian.
So trying to group together all of the AP Science subjects is a little difficult because each one has their own difficulties, their own easy factors that other ones don't share with them. But there are a few generalized trends amongst them. The first is that the main challenge in AP Science is the fact that they are hard science classes. And if it's a student's first AP Science class, it's going to be at a different pace than they're most likely used to. There's going to be a lot more memorization involved. There's going to be math involved, especially in the AP Physics classes. and they just might have difficulties in keeping up with the pace or making sure that they don't fall behind in their curriculum. Because all of the AP Science subjects curriculums are very closely knit together, where each chapter and each section in each chapter builds off of what was in the previous one, and by extension, all of the previous ones. So it's really important to make sure that a student keeps up with it, because if they begin to fall behind, then it kind of becomes a cascading issue of needs to go back and catch up from the very first thing that you start to fall behind on, and everything else leading up to wherever the class is at the moment. But speaking now on the classes themselves, AP Physics is normally the hardest one. As you can see, there's a very low percentage of students that actually get 5s and 4s compared to 1s and 2s. And that's just because it's very math-based, it's very conceptual, and it's one of the more fast-paced ones, even by AP Science standards. AP Environmental Science, on the other hand, is not as hard, but still one of the hardest. There's a lot of memorization, even more so in chemistry and biology, which are also very memorization based. But there's also a necessity of being able to tie in concepts that seem unrelated at first, but you're actually tested on finding the relationships between those concepts when you sit down to take the actual AP test. And it's also true for chemistry and biology. For both of the Physics C classes, they have very high pass rates. And this is partly because they're usually taken after AP Physics 1 and AP Physics 2, or after a student already has a very solid calculus foundation or very solid physics foundation. So it's just more applied. The math is a little bit more difficult, but if the student already understands everything, then it becomes a lot more easier to actually succeed in the test.
Okay, thank you, Julian. And then I think I'll turn it over to Dr. Yan for the AP math courses.
Yeah, so there are actually 3 AP math courses, 2 of which are calculus, calculus AB and the calculus BC, and then actually the third one is AP statistics. Of course, if a student's at advanced, and then definitely the student will meet one of the AP calculus classes, either AB or BC. Usually students, like more advanced students, will choose to take BC. Now, if you look at the statistics, students who got 4 and a 5, but by the way, this is these are the statistics from 2022. The test results just were that were released, and each year there's slight change in terms of percentage, but pretty stable though. Okay, now if you look at percentage of students getting 4 and 5, and you may think that BC is actually easier than AB. That's not true, and in fact BC is much harder than AB, and it's much faster paced than AB. The reason why you see students getting a higher percentage of students getting 4 and 5 is mainly because the base population is smaller, meaning that a student who take BC is smaller than the number of students who take AB. So more students take AB than BC, and also students who venture to take BC are more prepared. So that tells us that if you want to take BC and you want to demonstrate college that you are strong in math, and you better get 5. Because if you don't get 5, and that means you 40% of students are better than you, at least in preparing for this test. Okay, and we know that math, you never study a math subject in isolation, because all the math subjects you take are built upon the earlier math subjects you have taken. Now, before you get into calculus, you know that you have to take algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus. And therefore, if you don't have a solid foundation in those subjects, you may feel a little bit struggling when you take BC. And also, both the calculus and BC are very content intensive. AB has 8 units with more than 100 topics, and the BC has 10 units with more than 130 topics to cover. And therefore, you really need to get used to having this very fast-paced content and actually not falling behind. Because if you fall behind in the earlier topic, and that means you will even feel more behind when you move on to the later topics. Then we all feel completely lost toward the end. And then compared to algebra and other topics, and you can see that calculus topics are more abstract. And also, one thing that differentiates from differentiate AP from other math courses I've taken so far is that there's a big chunk of problems that require you to explain your thoughts. That's the FRQ part. Okay, 50% of the problems come from FRQ. Yeah, so students need to learn to explain their thoughts, not just giving the final answer. Okay, and then for statistics, so in fact, you can take statistics once you finish Algebra 2. But the reason I think a lot of schools don't allow students to take AP stats until their senior year for whatever reason. But it doesn't mean actually if you're strong in math, you're naturally strong in statistics. In fact, I've seen a lot of students who are very strong in math, even qualify for Aimee in math competitions. They still feel struggled when they studied AP statistics. I think it's mainly because statistics are quite new to them. Okay, they are not used to the statistical language, or these are the 3 skills that for students really need to have in order to succeed in AP stats. We call that statistical literacy, statistical reasoning, and the statistical thinking. Yeah, so students really need to get used to the process and the statistical terms in order to do well in AP stats. Okay.
How do you effectively prepare for AP exams, right, in the English and humanities? And as you can see, there's really, I would say, perhaps 4 divisions within the humanities. One is just your traditional English courses, right? That's language and literature. Then there is more the historical courses, which include things like world history, your old world. Then you have more like sociology, like psychology, and then economics, right? So I think for most students, at least most students I see, they're more interested within the history courses as well as the traditional English courses. So that would be usually the most popular ones are APUSH, English language, and then English literature. I do have quite a few students who self-study AP psychology. And I think if you want to effectively prepare for AP humanities course, like I mentioned before, part of the difficulty is just acquiring a new skill set, right? For instance, for an APUSH DBQ, you not only need to know the content that they are testing, such as, what happened in 1776, right? What is the Kansas-Nebraska Compromise? The DBQ asks you to analyze different events based on different lens, be it, a sociological lens, a political lens, and economic lens. And I think sometimes before taking an advanced history course, students are not aware of how to think within that way, or at least that type of contextualization. I think also for some of the English courses, such as language and literature, the type of analysis that's required is oftentimes, I would say, a huge leap above what perhaps their honors our regular English courses required, right? Because you're not being asked to summarize a text. You're very much being asked to delve into the text and again, be able to analyze the author's intent, their usage of certain devices, etc. So again, the main thing people need to do is practice, right? Especially for when it comes to writing and again, mastering a specific type of thinking or skill. There are no shortcuts. You need to practice. But I think one thing that we as educators have all noticed is that you can't practice in a void, right? For instance, if I wanted to learn guitar and I just play guitar, by myself all day and I had no one give me any feedback, I would still have no idea whether my guitar playing is improving, right? Because I am not a guitarist. So I think it's also very helpful for students to get a knowledgeable source to provide input on their writing or their analysis, etc. So that way they know exactly in which ways their thinking or writing is weaker and how exactly they want to improve. And I do think that there are some schools that are a bit better at this. But one trend I've noticed is that a lot of schools, because it's a 20 student or 30 student class, teachers don't have the time to provide consistent feedback, and oftentimes it's kind of given over to peer feedback. And while that is somewhat helpful, that is not, I would say, the best strategy, since oftentimes other students are also not aware of exactly how to improve so-and-so's writing analysis. So again, the best way to effectively prepare, you want to practice and you want to receive feedback from a knowledgeable source, someone who is very well, I would say, acquainted with the requirements and the skills and what a strong essay looks like. Okay, so Julian, AP Science.
All right, so preparing for an AP Science subject is a little particular to which AP Science class you take, but there are some strategies that are broadly applicable to essentially all of them. The first key thing is you want to know the expectations of the course, both in terms of the knowledge that you're going to have to learn and the work that you're going to have to actually put in to succeed in the class. And that's in terms of hours per week, classwork, homework, projects, labs, practice tests, everything of the sort. And the second thing is once the class actually begins, you have to make sure that you keep up with it. So this is especially true for the concepts of the class and, what chapter, what section of the chapter you're in. Because as I mentioned earlier, falling behind in a class is usually a pretty bad thing, I would say. But it's particularly bad for an AP Science class because of how closely tied in all the concepts are. But because those concepts are really closely tied in, you can actually use that to your advantage, whereas you're able to continue on with the class and get closer to mastering a certain concept. And then you can then carry over that information and that knowledge of it into the next concept. So this idea of just treating it like one concept is going to help me learn the next, and that one will help me learn the next one, and so on and so forth, can and will take you through the entire class and kind of help reduce the workload that you need mentally to actually get to a comfortable place with all the concepts on your road to actually mastering them. And then of course, classwork, homework, quizzes, tests, make sure you do all of them, same for any class. And you actually want to also make sure that you're still mentally fit, you're confident that you're doing well in the class, because if you're keeping up and you're not struggling, then you're doing good. And the only thing you need to do then is work to make sure that you understand the concepts particularly well on the way to mastery. And then you're doing great. And then when the test rolls around, you can just get a 5. Which, speaking of the test, all the AP Science subjects have them. All the AP classes have them. And there are a few things that you want to focus on when getting ready for an AP Science test. I like to call them the 3 pillars of the concepts of the class, the foundational scientific skills that you're also tested on, and just test confidence. So understanding and mastering the concepts is simple enough to say, a little bit harder to do in practice, but it's fairly self-explanatory. You have to make sure you understand and know everything in the class before you sit down and are tested on all of it. And for foundational scientific skills, the AP tests also test a student to see how well they understand the idea of science and all the different things that scientists do, all the different processes that go on during a scientific investigation. Most of the FRQs in pretty much every AP Science class or every AP Science test is not only testing your conceptual knowledge, but how well you can tie things together, how well you can handle an experiment, how well you can handle an investigation, how well you can read and understand scientific writing. And all of this is worked on during class through projects and labs. So making sure that you pay particular attention to those and also enjoy them because they tend to be pretty fun. They are very powerful learning experiences, not just for the concepts, but the skills that you need as a scientist. And then finally, just being confident that you know all of this. If you do, you do. And that's essentially all you need to know. Then it's just time to go take the test, sit down, get most of the questions right, or all of them. Get the 5, and you're good to go.
Great. That's a wonderful pep speech for them. Okay, let's talk about AP Math now. Dr. Yan?
Okay, yeah, so for AP Math, and I think for the younger ones and students who are still in the 8th or 9th grade, and if you have not started your AP Math, Applied Science subject yet, just keep in mind that this is not a memory test. And in fact, that's a pretty bad idea if you think you study by rote memory or by memorizing the facts. The AP level courses are harder because they really test how much you truly understand the concepts. And the concepts are intertwined, right? And only after you fully understand the concepts, you know how to apply them and how you integrate different concepts together when solving difficult, multi-step, complicated real-world problems. So here I just want to emphasize again, this is very, very important if you want to learn math and the science well, is you need to focus on understanding. I'm not saying that you don't memorize anything. You do memorize some quick rules because you don't have time to derive the rules on the spot. But the more you understand, the less you need to rely on rote memory. Okay, and then so if we move on to the things that you do need to pay attention to, of course, you need to understand important theorems and formulas. Although our teachers do give students some cheat sheet and to help them review the concepts, but not for the purpose for you to memorize them. Okay, and also both calculus and statistics tests allow you to use graphing calculator. But again, you don't blind use your calculator, right? You don't have to rely on your calculator. Don't overly use your graphing calculator. You need to know when you should use your calculator and how. What are the functions that you can use to help you to solve problems faster? And like I said, students who are good in STEM, sometimes a little bit weak in showing their work and showing their thoughts. Of course, this is not a composition test, but you do need to show your work by quoting the calculus theorems or the statistics theorem. Okay, so basically quoting the appropriate math terminologies. And the majority of points in FRQ are earned through intermediate step of the problem, not the final answer. In fact, only get 1 point if you only have the final correct answer. And at the end, this is still a standard test and it's timed. And in fact, most AP classes, when I look at the student responses, a lot of students pick hardcore AP tests, and those hardcore AP tests last 3 hours. So you need to learn the test strategy. You need to learn how to pace yourself well, and to keep in mind that it's a timed, and you have to maintain your mental agility during the 3 hours of test. Just stay focused. Therefore, we recommend students to take at least 5 real complete mock tests. We call mock tests because we want your student to simulate the real test environment.
Okay, thank you so much, Julian and Dr. Yan. So we are also aware that sometimes students' schools don't offer the AP courses, such as psychology. I know sometimes schools don't offer that, or environmental science. So can students self-study for AP exams? Yes, right. In fact, the College Board offers, I believe, a list of AP exams that they recommend students can self-study for, and exams that students are not able to. So if you're interested, please do refer to that list. And also know that there are a variety of resources that 7EDU offers for students whose courses are not offered by their schools. Okay, so since we're running a bit low on time, I do want us to introduce our new course offerings. And I think I'll turn this over to Dr. Yan because I'm very knowledgeable on this.
Yeah. So we know that students take AP subjects basically under 2 scenarios. One is that probably most of students are still planning to take AP subject at school, but but when the semester almost ends, and then you take AP test in May, right? Most of students will fit in that category. But for students to really want to get a good start with before their formal AP course at school, we want to help students, especially with the hardcore AP subjects. So we call that AP preview courses. So in those courses, we give students a preview of all the important concepts and the relationships of those important concepts, so that they will have they feel more confident when they get into the semester. And then you usually AP courses, most AP courses are offered throughout the year. So you have students start learning half of the content in the fall semester, and then take a spring, like winter break, and then come back next year. I can tell you a lot of students, when they get to the spring semester, they have forgotten a lot of things they learned in the fall semester. Now, if your school teacher is really doing a good job, and your teacher will give you enough time toward the end of the semester to help you review those earlier concepts, right? Because probably they could guess that you have forgotten some of the concepts, but now school teachers do that. And also, when school teachers review the concepts, they do very fast. And therefore, because the pain points we have seen among so many students, we're offering the AP Key Test Points Review course to help students to start early on reviewing those earlier concepts. So naturally, when they finish reviewing all the concepts, they are ready to take the test. We don't want to squish everything toward the end, because most of students will take more than one AP, not just one AP, right? So they basically have to spread attention into so many AP courses. So the earlier you should start, the better. Don't start in May, don't start in April, it's too late. Okay, start right after you come back from your winter break. Okay, that's for students who are taking certain subject at school. But we also want to help students who really want to self-study. And in fact, you should not be limited by what the school offers you. Your school has its like special reasons why they don't allow students to take certain subjects, or they decide to offer certain subjects, mainly because they are like a teacher, or because they want to give priority to seniors. I don't know the reason, but that should not stop you from pursuing the AP subjects you want to run. So in fact, a lot of students self-study. So to help students to more effectively self-study for AP subject, we offer regular AP courses. These are just like full year AP courses that you will take at school. But to further divide actually the courses that we offer, the regular AP courses we offer, we have the standard AP courses where students will learn all the topics and the skills they need in order to succeed in the main test. We also offer a special type of AP courses by incorporating the project-based one. And we will get to that in a moment, and we'll also explain the reason why we are doing this. And then, like I said earlier, all students should take mock tests. And the more the better, but I recommend 5, okay, because that's just basically around 1 month before your AP test. And we use the like pass review test and to help students to really learn the test strategies. The students who grew up here probably have not taken enough tests. So that's something that you really need to learn. That will not just benefit your AP test, it will benefit SAT tests, and also benefit your test in college.
So these are the standard AP courses that we're offering within the school year. So again, as Dr. Yan mentioned, these are just regular whole year AP courses. They're mainly for students who want to self-study. And the ones we're offering in small group class form are microeconomics, macroeconomics, US history, physics 1, and computer science 8. I'm not going to go over this in detail, but I think one thing that all 3 of us have mentioned is that succeeding in an advanced placement class requires understanding, right? It requires mastery. So I think a common flaw of more traditional based, like maybe just test-based learning, is that you really just stop at either the apply or analyze stage, or even worse, you're just at the explaining concepts, right? But to truly excel at an AP exam, you need to have a full mastery of that subject. And oftentimes that's the ability to evaluate or create your own work that utilizes the skills within that subject area. So this is a classic, I think, educational model from various educational programs. So what are the advantages of project-based learning? Again, I'm not going to, we're kind of running low on time, unfortunately. One is that I think it really encourages students to be in a way their own teachers, right? Because I think sometimes an issue with the AP exams is just, not all the time, but it's just motivation, right? Even for high achieving students, it's difficult to sometimes maintain that motivation, especially if they're taking like 5 different AP exams. Another thing is that Project-based learning also very much focuses on relevancy and real-world applications. For some students, the roadblock is they don't see the quote unquote usefulness of a course or a subject matter, and that causes them to be unable to invest time within that subject matter. So I think people have noted that with PBL, students are more able to, in effect, take control of their own education, right, more. And also, since it highlights the applicability of different subject areas, it's also been, I think several studies have been done to show that it's the more effective teaching method among various educational methods. So especially for an advanced placement course where you want to master a subject or you want to master a skill, where you really need to maintain that level of motivation throughout an entire school year, I think project-based learning is the ideal model for those courses. And I think the College Board agrees as well. So that's why we're offering a few courses this year, at least in project-based learning. I do hope some of you guys will sign up for them because I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for the students. Another thing we have is also the AP key test points review. If Dr. Yan, you want to add anything, please just interrupt me. Otherwise,
I mentioned that earlier, and then this course is offered right after a student comes back from the winter break, because we really want to give them the urgency that you need to start preparing for the AP test now. Don't wait till March or April. You really want to start from January, because half of the things you have learned in the fall semester may have slipped your mind. Yeah, so start early to prepare for the test.
Yeah, exactly. For a lot of these subjects, it covers like a lot of content, right? You cannot cram. And also for the FRQ, you cannot also last minute just expect to like miraculously improve your analytical writing, whatever skills. Okay, and then of course, the last one we offer are the AP mock test strategy and review. I think this is very helpful because, as Dr. Yan mentioned, the best way in a way to gauge your readiness is to, simulate real test taking conditions, right? To take actual mock tests. So we're offering these, and these will start in March, right? But again, you want to make sure that your foundation is solid before you take an actual exam. So that's why we also offer the key test points review course as well. Okay, in that case, we can open it up to Q&A. I know we have a lot of questions. So let's start with the ones in the Q&A box. Someone asked, what would be an ideal timeline for taking AP exams? Based on whether it's easier to study and prepare, which AP exams can be taken in 9th through 10th grades? Which should you wait till later when students are more mature? I think it really depends on the student. I also think, sometimes is your school offers a curriculum where you're not able to take certain AP courses unless it's a certain year. And usually you want to take the AP exam after you've taken the AP course at your school. Now, if it's a case of self-study, then I think it really depends on the student's strengths and their interests. Daniel, anyone else want to respond to this question?
Yeah, and there are also like certain exams that require your prior knowledge. So you kind of have to wait, right? For example, math, you really have to wait after you finish pre-calculus. Or you even if you really want ambitious, you don't want to follow the school pathway, and then you at least have to self-study pre-calculus before you get into calculus. Yeah, just for some courses, they have strict hierarchy. So you can't have to move forward according to the hierarchy. Don't skip.
Exactly. Like I believe you need to take physics 1 before you take physics C. I do think some students, I notice some students will take computer science A principles earlier because I think that's one of the exams that's more open. So
yeah, computer science A as well. Yeah, computer science. And also, like I said, AP stats. You actually can take AP stats right after algebra 2. I don't see any reason why you cannot. They just sometimes schools don't give students an opportunity to take that.
Exactly. So one, please, you should refer to the school curriculum. And then as Dr. Yan mentioned, if it's a very more rigid subject where it has a lot of prerequisites, make sure you follow the order. And then I think it's really based on the student interest and where their strength areas are. My kids' high school has AP Physics 1 first. Then the school combines AP CM and EM together. So I think that's AP Physics C together as one class in next year. So it is pretty tough Can you give any suggestions how to prepare to get a 5? Should we have to take both AP, CM, and EMAN exam, or which one is important? I'll turn that over.
Yeah, Julian has helped students. Actually, in fact, we get 100% 5s in our among students taking AP Physics.
Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes for CM and EM exam, I'm not quite sure. Is there a level of importance that distinguishes the two?
Julian, do you want to share some of your?
I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
Yeah, so this person asks, their school combines AP, CM, and EM together as one class. And they're wondering if there are any suggestions on how the student can receive a 5, and also whether they need to take both Physics C exams. Is there one that's more important than the other?
So as for whether one is more important than the other, I'm not too sure. I do know you can take them separately since they are 2 different tests. But in terms of having to take them together as one class, it's important to remember that it is a calculus-based physics course, both of them. They both just cover 2 completely different fields of physics. So CM covers mechanics, EM covers electromagnetism. And while there is oftentimes a lot of overlap between the two, especially if you've gone to take physics courses in college where these concepts are tied together, they aren't really tied together for the AP courses themselves. So you can treat them as 2 different classes since they are. You don't have to worry about trying to prep for both of them combined. It'd be easier to consider both of them separately and prep for both of them separately. So, for example, my high school did AP Econ and AP Government together in one class, but they had them totally separated because they were 2 different classes. So know what you need to do in each class, and also importantly, don't mix up any information between the 2. But what you can mix up, and actually should mix up, are the skills you need to actually understand and succeed in handling physics-based calculus, or calculus-based physics, my bad.
So I think you can probably, if your student is able to, they can probably handle both for that one. Thank you, Julian. Let's go to the next one. For CS students, which APs are a must?
Yeah, okay, well.
Probably APCS.
Yeah, so yeah, that's APCS, yeah. But actually APCS, I think that's too easy for students who want to take major in computer science, because we actually have a lot of students who take APCS, not for applying for computer science, just they really want to know some of the basic computing skill. I think computing skill will become a necessity for the future generation. Okay, but what are the other APs you want to take, right? And in addition to AP CS, you really need to take physics and the calculus. And because students who want to apply for computer science need to have a very strong foundation in math and the physics. Yeah, so that's probably not as obvious as APCS, but you do need to have advanced math and the physics courses if you want to apply for computer science. Yeah, it just now it's so difficult, so competitive to get into a CS major.
Yeah, even APs are not enough usually for most.
Yeah, sometimes you need to work on extra curriculums like extra projects.
Yeah, exactly. We do offer an IRP for that, by the way, if you're interested. Okay, same person says there are several AP physics tests. Do you recommend to take them all? I think we kind of cover that with Julian's answer, which is, the physics one versus the mechanics and electromagnetism.
That really depends on the major you want to apply and the school you want to apply for, right? Mm-hmm. The higher ranked the school, the more you need to do.
Yeah, and if you want to be, I'm assuming like an electrical engineer, you probably
yes, yeah, you do, yeah, because your peers are taking these tests, so you need to as well.
Exactly. This person asks, when applying to college, will the AP test score submitted with SAT score or separate? Well,
Not
all the
separate.
schools,
Yeah.
they're separate. I think you can
Yeah.
also select which APs.
Yeah.
Because some students take more, I think, than they allow people to submit. So you have to select.
Yeah. And yeah, you don't have to submit all the APs you have taken.
Yeah, so for the person who asked about the 3, you do not have to submit that. Yeah. As for yes or no, I think you'd probably have to discuss that with a counselor more. It really depends on the rest of the student's profile, right?
And
But
depending on the school you're applying for, right? Even you apply for a school major, but you know this school has a strong emphasis on humanities. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you did pass the exam. The 3 is still passing. But I think that would require further discussion. But you don't have to submit all your scores. You get a choice. Okay, there are a few more in the chat. Someone asked, how do you sign up for exams if you want to self-study for it?
Yeah, I gave the link, but you just have to start early.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you have to make a decision as soon as possible, because then you need to start looking for schools and get ready. Because I assume the student have other APs classes to take, and also if you're going for the junior year, you know, junior year is probably the most cost-heavy year during the entire high school. Yeah, so adding extra AP class is not a light load. It's not a small addition. It's a huge chunk of time investment.
Yeah, I think one of my students is taking, I don't remember, 5 or 6 junior year. So we want to plan early. Okay, so when applying to college, will the AP test score, actually, I think we've already seen that. Yeah, so separately, you can select which ones you send. If anyone has any other questions, please do utilize the Q&A box or the chat box. And I believe last but not least, I think we have one more question.
We have 2 more. One in the Q&A, one in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will go by, we'll answer both. So one asks, do I need to take AP English Literature in senior year if I will not choose English, History, or Business major? I had AP English Language. You don't have to take it. I will say that so I'm assuming you're going to be a STEM major then. I think, again, I need to know your circumstances more.
Or what's the next English class you can take, right? Because I think you need 4-year English courses.
Yeah, because if you've already taken AP English Language, I'm assuming you're going to take the AP English Literature class.
Yeah, there's no English class to take.
Yeah, why not just take the AP exam then, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not going to suddenly take regular English after you've taken AP English.
Yeah, because you need to show the forward trend, not like less and less rigorous in the senior year. Although I understand that you feel tired and you really want to spend more time writing your college application. However, you really need to have a forward trend. It keeps the same rigor during the senior year. And then the other question I can relate it, and whether if a student take AP course in senior year, should he still take AP test? Okay, so it's not just for college application. Of course, when you get your test score, you already know which school you are going to, right? You should have an offer already. It's not for your college application, but it may be used for your course placement after you get into college. But that's case by case, depending on whether the accepting school will consider that AP score. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also think if you're waitlisted at this school, then maybe potentially you can talk about your AP exams. Like Dr. Yan mentioned, you want to demonstrate a forward trend, right? If you've been this high achieving student who's taking AP exams, you can handle it. You're going to do great. Yeah, just take the exam. You're going to be fine. Any other questions? All right. In that case, thank you so much for our attendees. Hopefully we've answered your questions on the AP exam.